The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he did not exist. That's a quote from the movie The Usual Suspects. And I cannot think of a more relevant quote in these times, as the relevant theme of the world is moral relativism, this belief that good and evil are simply relative. And I am Jason Abraham, the shadow teacher. I am the one that goes into the darkness to understand what evil is and the nature of evil and what it looks like, how it manifests and actually shows up in our worlds, how it shows up in the cartoons and fantasy worlds, but how it really shows up in our real world. And if you have this attitude of moral relativism, that evil is just this thing that's relative to an event or situation, that there is no underlying good or truth, and there is no underlying evil, and you're simply blown by the wind, then your life will always be at the mercy of those who control the perception of what good and what evil is. And I would say most people would look at the word truth in a positive light. Most people want to be aligned with what they believe is true, what they believe is real, what they believe is of greater substance and value in how things actually are, as opposed to falsehood, misdirection, deception. Most people would look at falsehood and deception with a negative light. Yet, the great paradox, they accept moral relativism. And it's a tricky situation, as what I find is when evil infiltrates the systems that raise you, the systems and the beliefs that create your identity in the world and create your perception in the world, how are you able to ever find truth if you essentially are raised and educated in false light, in the devil's light? That's the Christian myth, that this is the devil's world, and the worldly systems are that of the devil. So, again, I think there's great value in understanding what that is, and understanding how evil works, how harvesting one's soul works. And what I find is when people are ignorant and disconnected from their own inner power and their own true soul, when they are disconnected from the energies of courage, of strength, inner strength, of confidence in their own judgment, then they become harvested by evil, and then they are used by evil. And I'm going to flip this. To know evil, you also need to know good. You need a North Star. You need some sort of template of what is truth, what it looks like, what it feels like. And if you don't know good, if you don't know what that looks like, if you have no compass of where to orient, then again, you are just subject to being blown by the wind and whatever seems to be the most powerful force outside of you, and wherever that wants to steer you. Now, I will say there are multi dimensions to all of this. There is the old Obi-Wan Kenobi quote, what I told you is true from a certain point of view, basically looking at perspectives or looking at truth from different perspectives and having different angles. And that is different than relativism. That's more of being able to look at the depths and the complexities of certain truths, but the underlying truths are simple. And I look at the underlying truth as simply being something that is true, is in alignment with creation. It's in alignment with the life process, which means birth and death, the rise and fall of the tides, the flow, the ebbs and flow of life. That's the life process. I look at evil as actually not death, but evil as being a force of manipulation, an attempt to actually control and redirect the life process to something else. Um, Not so much death, actually. More death can be part of it, but more redirection. I think actually evil wants to live forever as it perceives itself, where the life process is there will allow the life and death, the ebbs and flows of different expressions. So truth and good is in alignment with this life process, and evil is the misdirection and the attempt to control of it. That's how I look at good and evil. And kind of going into the works of Rudolf Steiner, I talk about him in mysticism. He looks at evil. He has these two evil forces of Lucifer and Ahriman. Lucifer being escapism. I escape into the idea and the word the pleasure, hedonism, and idea, and escaping into ideas, escaping into the ether, the Lord of the air, and Ahriman, the Lord of density, the dark Lord of materialism, reductionism, scientism, empiricism, reducing life to data sets that can be controlled and explained only through numbers. And then Christ, being the truth, being the highest of the human soul, which integrates the useful or the relevant aspects of Lucifer, of the ideas of the mystical spiritual truths and the hard, dense science of Ahriman, and integrates all of it into the body and pulls it all, but anchors it with the life process, moves it in the alignment of the life process. And then you can even look at the view of evil from C.S. Lewis in the book of the Screwtape Letters, where here evil provides contrast. It provides a test to the human soul. It provides a challenge. It provides choice. So the mission of good is not to abolish evil. The mission of good is to choose good over evil. Evil is there to evolve the soul by providing a choice, by providing an option. But for you to be able to make that choice, you have to be able to see it. And that being said, what does evil look like? What does your highest good look like? Be well, my friends, and I will see you on the other side.